Here's what's coming today on the Woodworking Network podcast.
I have seen so many applications for large companies who have high annual revenue, but they have never financed before. More than I've seen in the years that I've been doing this. And I think it's really because they understand the importance of cash flow right now and preserving that.
Welcome to this episode of the Woodworking Network podcast. Join us as we explore the business of woodworking, big and small, and what it takes to succeed. I'm Will Sampson. Today's episode is sponsored by the Executive Briefing Conference. We'll be talking with financial services expert Blair Chandler. But first, I want to talk about financing your future. It's fascinating how woodworking shops grow. Often it's an organic process, typically started as a one-person operation, maybe as side jobs or a hobby at first. Original tools and equipment might be personal acquisitions, enough to power a small garage workshop. As business expands, most shops finance their own growth through increasingly bigger jobs. Common line of reasoning is, if I get the Smith job, then that should pay for that table saw upgrade that I've been looking at. Over time, the shop and tools grow, and maybe helpers become employees, and equipment and space needs outgrow the garage. Almost never is this growth planned or seriously calculated. There isn't a calendar of goals with benchmarks to reach and capital improvement plans to fuel that growth. The business just hobbles along, job to job, month to month, until one day the needs are greater than what can be purchased out of the profits of one new job. Maybe the shop needs to consider financing new machinery. This is a potentially eye-opening opportunity for the business and its owner. A really common example for a growing cabinet shop is the purchase of the shop's first production edge bander. Whether the shop has been getting by with a little tabletop bander or even just ironing on the banding, they know there's got to be a better way. But those production edge banders are just so darn expensive, even the so-called entry-level units. The shop has never spent that much money on a machine before. How can it be justified? But the shop owner sharpens his pencil, does some calculations. Maybe the bookkeeper or CPA is involved. Finally, there's a trip to the machinery dealer or a big trade show. Then that scary moment when the shop owner signs on the dotted line and commits to spending all that money. And you know what usually happens? Soon after the new machinery is up and running, the owner and all the workers in the shop are shaking their heads and asking, "Why didn't we do this sooner?" One successful capital financing operation often leads to more and signals some serious growth for a company. Well-managed and carefully planned expansions can be very profitable, especially in a period of booming demand and major challenges in hiring more employees. Sometimes machinery can boost production without as many bodies required. The old saying is it takes money to make money. Sometimes the money it takes is borrowed from a bank or other lender. But you can't just throw money at machines willy-nilly and hope for the best. You need to do your homework, make serious calculations, and talk to as many advisors and experts who will take your questions. This is how hobby shops transition to full-scale businesses. This is how businesses expand and explore new markets. This is how business owners learn to stop chasing their tails from one job to the next and start planning for a future of growth. We are nearing the biggest trade show of the year. Are you ready to take advantage of the opportunity, or are you still stuck at one job at a time? Before we get to our chat with Blair Chandler, let's pause for a word from our sponsor. It's really easy for woodworkers to stay stuck inside, focused on their shops and production. But over the last couple of years, the pandemic has forced them to be even more isolated than usual. And it's even harder if what you want is to network with the top-level executives in the industry. Where and how can you do that? The answer is the Executive Briefing Conference coming this September at the spectacular Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. This is an unparalleled opportunity to boost your business with intelligence on techniques, tools, and technology, and to feed on inspiration from real leaders in the industry. Not to mention take in all the high altitude hospitality, beauty, and recreation offered by the Broadmoor. Learn more at theexecutivebriefingconference.com. See you there. Now let's talk about financing equipment with Blair Chandler. Today, my guest is Blair Chandler, who handles equipment financing and leasing for SCM. She also was recently named to the Woodworking Network 40 Under 40 list of outstanding up-and-coming people in the woodworking industry. Congratulations, Blair. Welcome to the Woodworking Network podcast.
Thank you very much.
We've got a big machinery show coming up later this summer, the IWF show, and it's the first time since COVID that it's going to be in person and live. And I imagine there's a lot of people that are thinking about buying machinery there. If someone's considering buying machinery at the show, what kind of preliminary information should they compile to ensure the best financing?
So I think, you're going to get good financing at the show, no matter what. I think in order to make the process easier, things like your federal ID number, some banks require bank statements. So if you have the last 3 months bank statements, go ahead and have those on hand in your email or with you. If you can provide those, that is great for review and really speeds up the process. Know if you're going to put money down as well. I think if you have an idea of what you're going to put down, go ahead and have a checkbook or something there to where you could potentially make a down payment at the show to secure your order even faster. And especially if you're a new business. So for new businesses who are financing, which we have seen a lot of those this year, I would have as much information as possible. You're most likely always going to have money to put down for a new business.
Now, is there some form of pre-qualifying? Is that still a thing? Some companies come in and have some kind of a preliminary conversation with their financial people?
Yes. So I actually, in the past few years, have not seen as many companies want to pre-qualify. And I think they're missing an opportunity here because when you pre-qualify, you're going ahead and you know exactly how much money you can spend at this show. You don't have to know which equipment you're buying. That can change up until the last minute. But you have a level of comfort knowing that you don't have to do anything once you get to the show except shop. And also, it's a negotiation tool as well. So if you get a pre-approval, you can take that with you and have that in your mind and talk to other companies and get many quotes and use that as a negotiation tool.
I would think it would make you a much stronger candidate for purchasing, that they treat you a little bit more seriously in the discussions.
Yeah, and I think I agree. And customers think that they're going to get the best rate at the show, which they are, but you're also going to get the best rate before. I believe at the show, it can only go down.
Well, and two, I think that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you've got to fold the financing in with the whole purchase price and the package and the features of the machine and all that when you make your decision. Yep. And if you don't know your equation in that, how are you going to do that?
Right.
Now, what are the pros and cons of various financing programs, such as leasing or traditional purchase loans? I mean, what kinds of things do folks need to consider in making that kind of a selection?
So the two most popular leasing options and financing options we offer is what people in this industry are really familiar with is a dollar buyout lease, and it's a lease to own. So you can buy out at the end of the term for $1 and you own the equipment. It really comes down to a breakdown of ownership. So if you do a lease, the lender is considered the owner throughout the entire term, and you're just paying on that. If you do what we call an equipment finance agreement, it's more as a loan, and you are considered the owner throughout the entire term. Now, on a lease, you can expense the monthly payments. So I would ask your CPA exactly how you want to record it on your books, but you can expense your monthly payments versus the traditional loan where you consider that machine an asset and can write off the full amount.
And then you have to deal with depreciation and any tax
Yeah.
incentives or anything like that.
Yeah. And I really think I've been steering my customers more towards an equipment loan because I just think it's easier and I think it's cleaner. There are no real big hidden verbiage that you don't know about and no surprises at the end. So I've been trying to steer customers that way.
A lot of people, particularly since we've had so much time between face-to-face shows, there are probably a lot of people that are making their first big machinery purchase at the show, that maybe they've never financed a machine before and that sort of thing. What kind of advice do you have for those kinds of folks in the marketplace?
Yeah. So it's interesting you say that. I think over the last year, since the AWFS show in Vegas last year, I have seen so many applications for large companies who have, high annual revenue, but they have never financed before.
Interesting.
And yeah, more than I've seen in the years that I've been doing this. And I think it's really because they understand the importance of cash flow right now and preserving that. And what I would say with that as well is the risk in financing is, yes, you're going to pay a little bit up front, but we also offer terms to buy out early. So if you don't like being in debt and you don't want to be stuck for a long term, you can get out of this. And I think that's what a lot of customers have realized over the past, year or two is this machine's going to make you money. So once you get this equipment in and you start seeing all of this cash come in, you'll be in a comfortable spot. It's just a smart decision.
Well, and I think those first timers, I don't know if it's true now, but it sort of used to be, I think that often the first big machine that a guy financed, particularly in the small or medium custom shop, was probably an edge bander. And most of the reaction that I've gotten over the years is, why didn't I do this sooner?
Oh, yeah. I mean, customers tell me all the time, this machine shows up. We're having trouble with employees right now. We can't find dedicated workers. I mean, everybody's in that boat together. And the fact that you can get one of these machines and it takes the spot of other costs, it's great.
Now, what are the financing considerations that somebody should put into their calculations for return on investment in the machine? You look at the price of the machine and everybody's got it figured out that way. But I think a lot of people are not adding in those kind of finance considerations as far as the interest and what they have to do on down payments and that sort of thing.
Right. So you definitely want to do that. You want to consider your down payment. Your agent, your leasing company, whoever you're with, should be able to provide you a schedule with the breakdown of the interest versus the lease payment, all of that good stuff. But I think some questions you have to ask yourself as a business owner is, do I know everything that this is going to take? I mean, I have the price of the machine, but what about service? How long is my warranty? Am I going to have to come out of pocket for the freight and installation? Do I need a new transformer also, to assist this machine? So you have to think about all of the costs that
dust collection and vacuum and
dust collection,
other kinds of factors that aren't directly connected to the machine, but you've got to have.
Right. Yeah.
And all that costs money. Now you represent a machinery company. What's the pros and cons of somebody dealing with their business bank or a capital leasing company or something that's separate from the machinery industry?
I'll try to sell myself here as well, because I think that we really are in this department an added benefit. And going through the machinery company, there's a relationship there. So customers who call into SCM Group, if they have a question about financing, I can answer it right away. And they say, okay, well, when am I going to get my machinery? I can walk down the hall and talk to someone about that. And they're not scrambling to try to find answers. And rates, because of the amount of business that we do and because of how many people we work with, you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket when you submit an application to one place. You're submitting it to us. We take a look at your application, determine who would be best fit for your credit, and then we send your application to our respected partners that we have vetted and that we trust, versus just sending it to an outside leasing source who they don't know what equipment you're buying. They don't know what an edge
probably don't even
is or a
understand what the
CNC.
equipment is.
Exactly. And I think their terms can be kind of strict. There's no flexibility there. So with our customers, we're able to provide flexible financing options. If your machine's not going to get here for 6 months, which we all know right now, that is, delivery is crazy, but we have the time and the respect for you as a customer to be flexible with you on that. Our biggest competitor is a bank, a customer's bank, because a lot of customers do have good relationships with their banks. A bank is going to be able to offer you a lower rate 9 times out of 10, but the reason so many customers choose not to go with their bank is because of how long it takes to get a transaction completed. If you don't have a line of credit or something already approved and you go to the show and then decide you want to go with your bank, you're probably going to be waiting a week just for a rate, where we could get something done in 24 to 48 hours for you.
Wow, that makes a big difference. And I think too, even with a good relationship with your bank, you're going to have to sort of sell the concept of, what this piece of machinery is going to do for your business.
Exactly.
To the bank, and they don't know the difference between an edge bander and a CNC machine and whatever. Right. Whereas that discussion is kind of already taken care of dealing with the machinery company.
And also you have to provide so much additional information. We have programs where it's up to $1 million application only. So if a customer submits an application with his business information and there's good credit history there, you could get up to $1 million with no financial statements.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Now, if a woodworking company is considering major machinery purchase and has not yet narrowed down which vendor or who the best source of financial advice, who are the kind of people they should be talking to? Their CPA, their banker, someone else?
So I think their CPA is always a good start because they have the knowledge of, okay, say you're making a lot more money than you expected this year. You're on a really good track. Your CPA may say, you have the funds to finance this equipment or buy this equipment. You want this tax break. Here you go. They're going to be able to tell you exactly what you can afford each month. A banker, I don't know as much about that. I think that they're just going to be able to tell you yes or no on some things, but I would get multiple quotes as well. So talk to your CPA, see what you can do, and then also talk to a few financing companies, see what the rates are like out there.
So that you're going into the negotiations a little bit more knowledgeable about what the situation is and what it's going to cost.
Yes, sort of exactly. And rates are fluctuating so quickly now. So I would definitely get a few quotes and see if they can hold those.
Like everything in the economy right now, fluctuating.
I know. I know. No one's surprised anymore. That's the good thing. I feel like everybody's on board and we all understand that we're in this together and no one's upset anymore that so many things are fluctuating. It's frustrating, but we're in this together.
It probably helps that at least in most of the woodworking industry right now, things seem to be booming and there's plenty of demand for services. And so people are feeling fairly confident in that. They don't know whether they're going to get the supplies they need or the machinery they need or anything else, but they're pretty confident that if they can get that, they can deliver the goods and make a profit. So I guess that's a good situation to be in. I expect you and your colleagues are going to be very busy in August.
Yes, but I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm excited to see how well all of our customers are doing. Everyone seems to be in uplifted spirits and I'm excited.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be great and great for the industry. And I appreciate your information here today. I think it's good nuts and bolts information to help people get going, especially those newer shops that maybe have never taken a big leap on a big machine yet, and
Right. Yep.
they don't know what it can do for them. And this is the way to do it. So it's great. We'll probably be checking back with you after the show, Blair, to find out how things went and maybe get another fix on what's going on in machinery financing.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, this has been great. Thank you much, Blair.
Thank you, Will. Bye.
That's it for today. If you're looking for more of our podcasts, you can find all of them at woodworkingnetwork.com/podcasts and in popular podcast channels. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks again to today's sponsor, the Executive Briefing Conference. If you have a comment or topic you'd like us to explore, contact me at will.sampson@woodworkingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening.